So many students and parents from the emerging Europe region want to study in Western Europe or the United States. A few years ago, Emerging Europe ran a survey among several hundred students in the region, and we asked them where they saw their future. And close to two-thirds of them said they were planning or they would like to leave their country also to study and perhaps come back in a few years. What can we do about that? What can we do to change that? And is it actually the right thing to do to study elsewhere, especially when it comes to tech or science subjects? We're going to explore these topics today. Good afternoon. This is Live on EE, and my name is Andrew Wrobel. To discuss higher education in the emerging Europe region, I have invited three female professionals. I am glad this is the second Live on EE in a row where I have three female guests. So let me introduce them. Anamaria Dutceac Segesten, Associate Professor of Strategic Communications and European Studies at Lund University. Nino Enukidze, Rector, Business and Technology University in Tbilisi in Georgia. And Savina Mihaylova-Goleminova, Director, Master's Program, Economics and Management of Public Resources at the University of Sofia in Bulgaria. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So before we take a deeper dive into higher education, let's take a look at the last 2 years. What were the biggest challenges as far as remote learning is concerned? Because everyone was stuck in their homes and had to learn from their home office basically, or their bedroom sometimes. And what are the mid and long-term consequences if we look at that? Ladies, whoever wants to start. Nino, go ahead.
Nino.
Okay, let me start. It's a really interesting topic. Well, first of all, hello everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me, and thanks for everyone joining us. As we are discussing remote education, okay, we all know that COVID-19 has changed everything, all the methodologies we have been teaching throughout these years. But we know that over 1 billion children are left out of classroom globally, right? So if we discuss education technologies, even before COVID-19, there was a very high growth and adoption in education technology. So e-learning didn't start together with COVID, it started years before. With global edtech investments, we know that in 2019, the investments across the world reached up to $20 billion US. And we had this forecast from many international organizations saying that up to $300 billion US by the time of 2025, the edtech market would be reached. So whether it is, virtual tutoring or language apps or video conferencing tools, any kind of online learning software, there was a significant surge in usage before the pandemic. But as we had to admit these technologies in an unplanned circumstances faster than we were planning to do it by ourselves without lack of training, or maybe with very poor preparation, we received this, let's call it poor user experience. Some believe that new hybrid model of education will emerge. Well, yes, of course, I'm thinking that e-learning will stay there for many, many years ahead, but today we are facing a very big challenge to overcome, and this challenge is called inclusive access to technology. So some students do not have computers at home, we know this, and more or less it's the same in different countries. The statistics are the same. So there are no smartphones, not even internet, and this is reality. This really creates a gap across countries and between those from privileged and disadvantaged backgrounds. So given the digital divide, I can say that new shifts in education approaches might create the equality gaps, which is something we need to think about. And you know, after all, we know that only around 60% of globe's population is online. So what about the rest 40%, right? So this is, I would say, the biggest challenge we are facing so far while having this online teaching on the.
So, what has it been like in Bulgaria as well, Savina? What?
In the first place, I would like to say a few words about my university, Sofia University St. Clement Ohridski. This is the oldest higher education institution in Bulgaria, based in the capital of Bulgaria and one of the most highly reputable centers of science on the Balkans. Of course, we had a lot of challenges, and we still had a lot of challenges relating to online education. But I think that problems gave us also a lot of opportunities. And I'd like to say a few words about opportunities which we had and we still have. In the first place, I think that this situation gave us an opportunity to create new electronic materials, and I was personally involved in preparation in different handbooks, in my case related to taxes and duties, different forms for cooperation between academia, students, and business. I can give I can give at least two examples at my university. Together with Bulgarian Development Bank, we decided to start an initiative so-called an Academy for Sustainable Investments and Finance. And this is a good example how we can combine the opportunities of different stakeholders using technologies. And we have this academy will start next week, and we have 100 participants, which is impossible to have in a classroom at the Faculty of Economics and Business Administration. So, of course, we have a lot of problems and a lot of challenges, negative challenges. In the first place, I would like to mention a social distance. And actually, this is a problem for young people. Not for us, but I think for young people, this is much more difficult to deal with such a situation.
Thank you very much, Anamaria. Anything to add to that? We talked about the inclusiveness of education now.
I was just thinking that from my experience working together with several Ukrainian partners in an Erasmus Plus cooperation over the past 4 years, one of the additional challenges beyond the ones mentioned by my colleagues is the pedagogical challenge of readapting one's teaching style to the digital education principles. And research shows that having students in Zoom meetings or any other digital meetings for a prolonged period of time reduces the quality of the learning process and the outcomes of the learning process. Thus, there is a challenge that, again, none of us were perhaps ready for, but some were more ready than others, to adapt one's teaching methods to take into account this type of digital mediated remote learning. For example, whenever it was possible to engage students more often, but for shorter periods of time, providing digital chat rooms where students could work together, but not necessarily simultaneously, but asynchronously. And this, I think, it's a process that came as a shock at the very beginning of 2020. But in my opinion, most higher learning education institutions have been able to adapt and learn from these experiences, including not only the students, but also the teachers. And there's valuable knowledge that now is established in the form of books and academic publications.
So let's go back to the very beginning of the show, of the program today. Now, I mentioned that quite a few students, quite a few parents, their parents want their kids to study in Western Europe, in the United States. Does that even make sense? What's your take on that? Should we consider that? Perhaps, we should look at the universities that are in the region, in Central and Eastern Europe, and we'll have different perspectives because obviously we have two universities from the region, but we also have Anamaria, who teaches at Lund University, but she's originally from Romania. So
exactly. And have actually studied abroad basically my entire life, pretty much. So I'm an example of people who originated from the region, but basically left the region in favor of Western destinations. So I think that happened, though, quite a while back. So I'm sure that the situation is different these days. What motivated me, for example, at a biographical level now, to leave was simply the quality of the education and the existence and the various stages of development of the subjects that I was personally interested in. This is no longer the case, I believe. The distance between the quality and the topics available in the region and outside the region is much shorter than before. However, there is still this temptation to depart from the region towards other destinations, and that is not purely educational, though. I think there's a combination of factors there. Probably my colleagues can discuss even more what they see in their trends. I mean, I'll just very briefly that one of the ways to mitigate the potential for, again, is big quotation marks, but brain drain, is to create solid partnerships between Eastern and Western, again, for lack of better terms, universities or other forms of higher level education. And this is basically what I have been doing in the past 4 years in the space of this Erasmus program, namely establishing this type of exchanges, both between students, but also between teachers, and also training teachers to be inspired by the same standards, pedagogical and content-wise, as we have here in Sweden.
Mm-hmm. Nino and Savina, what is your take on the whole destination choosing aspect?
Well, it's really an interesting question. I think that while we are thinking about what to do to change that, to change the mind of students and somehow make them believe that they should stay in their local institutions and somehow follow their career path over there, I think that we should more focus on becoming more competitive as institutions. So
what does that mean?
And I will say what I mean under this. For example, I can tell from the example of my country, while number of institutions in Georgia are having the ways, the attitudes, how we design curriculums, or how the research infrastructure is being developed, or the connections institutions have within the industry or government or international partners, the level of independence institutions have, and many other directions I can tell. I think that we could all work more intensively to continuously improve our KPIs, call it key performance indicators, of these areas I am mentioning. So meeting the needs of companies across the world, meeting the needs of international labor market, especially while we are in the process of technological revolution, let's call it so, right? So there is the fourth industrial revolution, and now there is COVID situation, which emerged the technology transformation process of all the industries. So every candidate, everyone can now work more easily remotely in the international companies, not even leaving their homes. And still, these people prefer to go and learn somewhere else. So maybe we have to improve the ways we are designing the curriculums, which will more meet the needs of international labor market, which will meet the needs of international industries. I don't mean the exact universities. For example, I represent Business and Technology University. This is one of the youngest universities in the country, and still it's the fastest growing. And when I'm being asked quite often, what's the reason to this fast growth? I mean, the reason for the high demand of local students coming here, we say that we are listening to industry a bit more than someone else might be doing on a local market. So we have really strong partnership and strong ties with industries, which ensures that our alumni and even our students already work on very, very good jobs, not only on an international organizations, but local, but in international organizations. So I always think that it's not about us working with someone else to make them believe that it's better to stay with us. It's about becoming better so that we will ensure that these students will see and understand the value of staying with you is higher than going somewhere else.
I'll have a follow-up question about the curricula that you mentioned, but I want to ask Savina first about her.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm proud to share that using the example of my Faculty of Economics and Business Administration, and as I said at the beginning, challenges and problems create a lot of opportunities. I'm proud to share that we have more than 500 students in our master programs, not just because of the pandemic situation, but because some of our students decided not to go abroad. And also we offer to our students a lot of programs, master programs in English. And
That was my follow-up question.
yes, we have master programs in English, strategic management, human resources development, management information systems, applied econometrics and economic modeling. And I have also students from abroad. I have students from India, Saudi Arabia, China, Morocco, Greece, Italy, Germany, of course, Russian Federation. Some of them are students using the Erasmus opportunities, but some of the students are coming just to take their master's degree. Just to add something, we have also a bachelor's degree program in English. This is a bachelor in accounting, finance, and digital applications. And I have also there some students from China and Russian Federation. So I think that our faculty is a good example how we can attract students not only from abroad, but to give the opportunities for Bulgarian students to stay here and to be in international environment. As I said at the beginning, we're trying to develop different flexible forms for cooperation, not only using the Erasmus agreements opportunities.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I hear myself for some reason. I don't know. Okay, now it's better. My follow-up question was about the curriculum, the curriculum or the design of curriculum and the importance of English actually in the design of the curriculum. How do you? Because we've already heard from Savina that this is an important aspect and that attracts also students from all over the world, pretty much. What is it like for Nino, for the Business and Technology University, and of course Anamaria? How you say? I mean, Lund University has a huge number of foreign students coming to study. But let's start with Nino.
First of all, let's say that Georgian language is spoken only by almost 5 million people around the world, and that's it. So we are in a big need of knowing international languages, which is why, while we are designing curriculum, new programs, we are considering that these programs should be offered on a local language as well as on an international language. Most of the times in Georgia, it's about English. So yes, at BTU, we have programs both run in Georgian and in English. But
can you give the percentage roughly? How many courses roughly? Is it like more in Georgian, or is it actually more in English?
Actually, all the programs are fully accredited in Georgian language. While under the accreditation, we suggest almost 80% of total courses. I mean the core courses and elective courses, which are offered to students in English language also. So even if international student comes, they can, with exchange programs, with Erasmus or something else, they can choose from a wide variety of courses offered in English. Moreover, we have in the campus of Business and Technology University, we have launched the first American University campus. It's the first actually international university campus in our country. It's the Webster University, which operates in 50 different locations across the world, which is fully operated by academic staff from United States and from several European countries like Switzerland, Austria, and several others. And the programs over there are fully accredited in English. So even though we are accepting Georgian students, the must for English fluency is their own ground. So,
and what is the interest of Georgian students in those English courses?
Very high, actually. Almost every student has very good fluency in English. I mean, there was times like post-Soviet or Soviet times where when everyone was speaking Russian language as the second language, right? So now if we take into consideration young generation, the age of students, they don't speak Russian almost at all. They mostly speak English, but almost all of them speaks English. And it's not only about educating them in schools or at the universities. It's also about, you know, social media, about some Netflix, YouTube things where they have access to this English spoken content quite rapidly. So yeah, that's one of the reasons also, I think.
Anamaria, you mentioned the program with Ukraine, the Erasmus program. That was also designed in English, right?
Exactly. That was the point, in fact, of having this Erasmus cooperation. One of the outcomes, intended outcomes and fulfilled outcomes, I'm happy to say, of our cooperation with the Ukrainian universities was to create several courses that would be offered in English at these 5 different Ukrainian universities, and a full English language program in regional studies. And I think the first graduates just happened this year. Not so many because of COVID, but quite many. I must though temper somehow the enthusiasm for the English language quality. My experience, both from my exchanges towards Ukraine, but also as teaching in English at Lund University. I've noticed that a lot of times the expected quality of the English language communication and the actual performance in English of students differs quite widely. And I think this is an actual barrier to mobility. And it's a barrier also to the performance of students. I have recently started another program here at Lund University, also just in English, and we are also very happy to welcome students from across the world, from China to US, and from Georgia actually. Very happy to see this diversity, but not all students, though not the Georgians, are as good in English as their papers would allow us to think. And I'll say one more thing, which I think is very interesting, is not just about English language fluency, it's about the practice that they come with from outside the West, I guess you would say. We've seen an important rise in plagiarism cases with students that have their background outside, let's say, the European cultural space. I'm not entirely sure why, but this is a major issue, especially for first-year students. And we are quite tough here at Lund University, and that has cost them significantly because they are basically being suspended if they are caught plagiarizing, but they are not entirely sure how plagiarism really works. So this is one area where we have devoted quite a lot of effort, both locally here in Lund, but also in Ukraine, in my partnerships there, to educate teachers and students about the merits of respecting originality and not conforming to plagiarism practices.
Yeah, I can definitely confirm that, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about writing academic papers or looking at, for example, photos. And I'm not referring to any particular countries, but in general, sometimes the approach is a little bit relaxed, I would say, to IP. Nino and Savina, you wanted to comment. I think Savina wanted to.
Yes, I wanted to say something talking about English. With the support of British Bulgarian Business Association, we're trying to establish a new bachelor program together with a university from UK. Of course, this is a secret still, but just I would like to say that we have a lot of obstacles, but we are hope that soon we'll have a results, and we are very enthusiastic about this new opportunity. Thanks to British Bulgarian Business Association and the Embassy of UK in Bulgaria.
Nina, you wanted to add something to that?
Okay. It was very I'd say challenging thing mentioned with regards to plagiarism, and it's good that we have raised this topic because from our side it requested huge investment of time, of all the necessary resources to first, I would be honest, to train newcomer visiting lecturers, not professors, but visiting lecturers, about using the necessary softwares to prevent plagiarism at the university. And then we are doing this teaching and training and monitoring thing like several times per semester, which is, to be really honest, very costly for us and for all the universities, I guess, internally at our country. The difference is that state universities have better access because they are state universities, and it allows them to use their resources a bit more freely. We are a private university, so for us it was really challenging, but it's about reputation. It's about the name you have while entering as a newcomer on the market. So we were one of the pioneers, like really focusing on this topic. We had very tough times with not only students but with lecturers also.
How old is BTU?
BTU is 6 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. So. 2 years already, we are fine. Like, we don't see it as a challenge anymore. So, yeah.
I want to touch on two more topics during our today's discussion. And the first one is technology. And since we have 3 women here, I'd like to talk about women in tech. And, last year, there was a program, an initiative by BTU that was awarded one of the Emerging Europe Awards, and that was regarding women in tech. But also in Bulgaria, if we look at the share in Bulgaria and Romania, the share of female graduates in technology is actually one of the highest, if not the highest, in the European Union. So what is happening in Bulgaria that there are so many women or female graduates in technology or in IT courses? Savina, any thoughts?
Maybe, I don't know, because I'm a lawyer, but I think that usually this education gives a lot of opportunities, not only in Bulgaria, but also abroad. And also, I think that we have traditions in IT sector. So I think that that's why maybe we have such a success.
And Nino, what is it like? I mean, with the program, but in general, how are Georgian female students interested in learning about IT, about AI, and all technologies that are available out there?
Well, first we started researching this topic 3 years ago, and we saw that there was, on average, there were 18% of female students on IT programs across the country, while in different countries of Europe the statistics differ, but still it's higher, much higher than in Georgia. So, and the reason to this are varies. Somehow I don't know why, but IT tech profession is not considered to be for females in our country. It's some kind of part of our culture, maybe, I don't know. I'm still researching it, but we needed to address this. We saw the need of addressing this challenge. We have launched a coding school for women, and UN Women Organization has supported us a lot. We have several hundred candidates which fully free of charge have studied different programming languages, data science, AI, coding, and so on and so on. But still, one initiative for one institution is not enough for the whole country to change the picture, right? So now we started the new program. We are very, very hopeful that this program will make a difference in the country. It's called 500 Women in Tech, and we do it also with support of UN Women Organization and more than 30 different IT companies, mostly international IT companies operating in our country. So we select these candidates, we teach them, and then we give them, involve them in different job fairs, and we help them to find the jobs in tech, which is not only challenging due to some societal point of view, it's also a big problem for our economics, because 1/2 of the population is not involved in this sector, which is emerging in the country, and this is technology. And economically, it's also a problem. So yeah, this is somehow how we are trying to address the problem.
This issue, though, is not reserved just for the universities in Eastern Europe. Even here in Sweden, that is considered a progressive country, the ratio of women to men in STEM subjects is still disproportionately higher in favor of men. And of course, there's been quite a lot of initiatives just replicating whatever we have seen everywhere else to promote women in tech. But the results are not yet as obvious. So this definitely takes a long time. It's not a process that happens overnight, and it starts in ground school. It's difficult to recruit candidates at the level of the university if they have not been trained properly in earlier steps of their education. And this is where at least in Sweden, a lot of the efforts are being directed at the moment. So coding has been introduced as a subject in primary school.
So my final question, thank you very much for that. My final question regarding future-proof education. This is one of the areas that Emerging Europe covers in its Future of Emerging Europe program. And I would like to ask the three of you how you understand, future-proof education, and how is that reflected in Central and Eastern Europe? Nino, can I start with you?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think that inclusive education is a future-proof education where for everyone and everywhere, I don't know, online and offline, there are equal learning opportunities. And to ensure this equality and inclusiveness in education, I think we all, and under we, I mean, not only institutions, but government and industry, we all should work on awareness raising, on capacity building and advocacy, and also the further support of the implementation process to fulfill, these gaps between policy and practice, which there is in different countries. So to be really brief, I think that inclusive education is one of the main directions we could call future-proof education.
And do you think we are going in that direction already in Emerging Europe and Eastern Europe, or in Central and Eastern Europe?
I think yes, definitely yes. I've done quite a big research analyzing different countries and different activities and initiatives that are targeted to, fulfill these gaps while going towards the inclusive education. And the initiatives are there, there is UN Sustainable Development Goal number 4, and some countries take it really seriously. Unfortunately, not every country, but still there are countries which very much focus on this special goal. So I think that slowly but surely we are moving towards this direction.
Okay, perfect. And Savina, what's it like?
A few words. I just wanted to say sustainable education, university networks, and in the interdisciplinary focus.
This what future-proof education is for you. And again, is that already happening in Eastern Europe, in Bulgaria?
We are still trying. Of course, at the political level, we have different processes, but we have a lot of projects which we are currently implementing. Usually all those words which I've already mentioned, sustainable, network, etc., they are included in the content of those projects.
Perfect, thank you. Anamaria.
I agree with everything that has been said already. I would add maybe 2 things. One would be a focus on integrating technology across subjects. So not only studying technology in itself, but also integrating technology in every subject. Teaching with technology, not only teaching of technology. And the other one is also something that I'm very involved in myself, and I believe that this is indeed a future of the education, which is international mobility, international cooperation, and a focus on financing education, both from a private but also from a state point of view. I think we should not be shy to really spell it out. It's a lot about the money. There's huge amounts of competence, there's huge amounts of interest and drive, and it's a privilege always to work with young people, with students that are really at the peak of their energy and dedication, but without having appropriate funding. And I think this is a problem as much as you would want to think it's not a problem. It's a problem as much in the West as it is in the East. Without appropriate funding, there is no way that we can achieve future proofing of anything. So I think governments as well as private actors should realize that without an educated public, there will be no economic performance and ultimately no economic development. And investing in education will ultimately be the best investment they could possibly make.
And is there a follow-up question here? Are there any specific, because you said using technology to not only teach technology, but is there any specific areas that we should look into, like teaching people about AI, teaching people about, or young people, about technology in general, whatever, the Internet of Things, all that. Is that something we should be thinking about already?
I think it's what I mean by technology is a certain way of looking at the world, which looks at data, testability, reliability, mathematical reasoning, and then using some specific tools toward that is like a next step. But without having this kind of way of looking at the world that is infused also with this technological mindset, you will not be able to have high level professionals of exceptional quality to program your AI. So it starts, like, it's complex. It's not just like taking a course in Python. You need to understand how things work, and for that you need education. It's more earlier stages and imbued in every subject, from history and philosophy to obviously coding and biotech.
So it's basically having this tech-focused mindset, and it's also a message for governments in Central and Eastern Europe, well, perhaps globally as well, to understand that, to keep this as one of their priorities. And a short message for our students coming from Central and Eastern Europe: do have a look at the local value proposition of universities, because you can also learn a lot, especially with the collaboration projects, especially with the exchanges, and a lot of foreign students coming to Central and Eastern Europe right here without actually traveling to Western Europe. Perhaps go to Lund. It's not that far away, but perhaps don't go further west and to the United States. Ladies, thank you so much for this chat. It was an absolute pleasure to speak with you, and hopefully there will be another opportunity to discuss education, higher education, later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.